We will do this panel in English, yes, or in Spanish? In English, yes. You could, if they do questions in Spanish, you can use the translator, okay? So, well, Preston, what are block trades and how do they work, please?
First, I want to thank you, Rodolfo, for having us down here. It's been fascinating to learn the experiences from the LatAm market as it relates to Bitcoin trading. As our name states, we are Genesis Global Trading. We are focused on block transactions. We define that as 25 Bitcoin or larger. Our average transaction size is probably significantly higher than that, closer to 200, 250,000, our typical transaction. We are known as a market maker, meaning we are the counterparty to all the transactions, which try to eliminate counterparty risk and any sort of price slippage if you were to place the order on an exchange. So long story short, we define block trading as 25 Bitcoin or greater.
Great. Bueno, this is for both, yes? How do you present BTC to an investor or to a traditional investor?
Well, that's an interesting question. We've been covering all Latin America with the Bitcoin Fund and talk with different traditional investors and asset managers. And it's pretty impressive after everything that's been going on with Bitcoin for 4 or 5 years, how little the most important financial advisors and asset managers in Latin America know about Bitcoin as a potential investment. We've been talking with many high net worth individuals or family offices, some very important groups in Latin America, and they basically know almost nothing about Bitcoin. And definitely, I would say 99% of them don't have any Bitcoins in their portfolios. So that was surprising. So the process, at least in Latin America, I don't know how it is in the US, but it's, back from the beginning. We cover all the technology. We need to explain them the basics, everything you've been learning the last couple of days. We need to start from scratch. And we tend to focus on the fundamentals when we talk to them. We talk about merchant adoption, the mathematical scarcity, and then come as a conclusion with the answers and with the ideas that Tur shared with us yesterday. And if this technology takes off and all these potential use cases that could impact trillions of dollars in different markets, like remittances, like private remittances, corporate remittances, e-commerce, international trade, and all the future potential of blockchain services. And then the potential impact that could have in these 21 million Bitcoin that we know there will never be any more than that. So it's kind of a painful process, very slow. I think it will take a couple of years until they realize the potential. Maybe they're going to follow once they see the price picking up again. But I think it's very important to explain the technology to these potential investors before they understand the upside potential as an investment. This is kind of our approach. I don't know how you deal with it.
I agree with Gabriel that education is a big component. To give a little bit of background of our firm, we're based in New York City, and before we spun off as Genesis Global Trading, we were Second Market Inc. Sort of our calling card has been since 2005 when the firm was founded is to make hard to trade and hard to buy assets easier to purchase by large institutional investors or individual investors that are interested in the space, whether it was Facebook shares before Facebook was public or hard to trade fixed income securities in the United States. We've really sort of carved out a niche, making less accessible asset classes more accessible to sort of the mainstream investors. So it's two things. One, the education component, helping them understand the technology behind the Bitcoin and blockchain, and by no means are we the smartest guys or experts in that field, so we oftentimes defer to someone like Tur to give a better reasoning behind the technology. And then two is we're trying to make and generate an experience for these investors that is similar to any other sort of asset class they purchase. So we're working with hedge funds that buy equities every day, working with hedge funds that buy as our previous host said, the evil U.S. Treasury bonds every single day. So we just want to make buying Bitcoin similar to that experience for them, whether it's 100,000 or on Monday we received an order to sell 2 million USD Bitcoin, and we handle that for a hedge fund in a course of an hour. So whether the tasks that we're presented with, we want to make it seamless and easy for them and make it seem a little bit more accessible than Bitcoin oftentimes can seem to the average investor.
Great. Yes.
I would like to add that we've been discussing a lot about how Bitcoin could allow to eliminate intermediaries and how you can become your own bank and just manage freely your transactions with Bitcoin. But that's something that not every single traditional investor appreciates, actually. Mm-hmm. Many of them don't want to become their own bank. They don't want to hold the risk of losing the keys and having to manage all that and learning. I mean, we've been working on this for so many years, and they just don't want to spend that time. So I think there's a lot of room and opportunity for entrepreneurs and people just willing to help traditional investors and traditional companies that are going to start dealing, either investing or working with Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Because not everybody wants to become an expert, and maybe some of them believe in the technology, believe in the potential, want to put 0.5%, 1%, as Tur was saying, and you don't want to become a gold expert if you want to put 1% of gold in your portfolio. So there's a lot of room to help them to understand the technology and to help them manage their investments.
And what do you say these investors, the ones that you are managing your funds, are doing a long-term investment, mid-term? How do you think their expectations about Bitcoin in general?
Well, in our case, we definitely encourage them and suggest them to be a long-term investors. We always analyze the past track record of the currency and how the spikes have been happening in the past. With Bitcoin, you could double your money in a month, or you could, have an unrealized loss of 50% as well. But we really believe in the long-term potential. So we encourage them to invest a small part of their portfolio, but make sure they can, save that money or those savings in the long term, because we believe in. Tur said yesterday that the Barbados central bank said that in 10 years it could be worth $3 million. Well, we don't know if that's exaggerating number or not, but we definitely believe that there's a potential huge transformation where having a short-term return is not what they should be aiming for. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
We have a fairly healthy mix of both long and short-term investors and speculators. We opened our trading desk to trading digital currencies and Bitcoin specifically in September of 2013. Since that period, we've transacted over 1.3 million Bitcoin. The market value is somewhere around $500 million USD in terms of Bitcoin that we bought and sold for investors or on our own behalf. And we have guys that are coming in every single day, and they're individuals or they're small companies, and they're buying 50, 100 Bitcoin or selling a like amount to sort of manage their liquidity and manage their companies that they're running. And then we have the home run hitters, who are the hedge funds and the institutional investors, who are saying, we put $10 million into Bitcoin. Worst case scenario, it goes to zero, and our investors don't even know that $10 million is lost. It's such a small portion of our fund. However, if it reaches the use case of that Gabriel mentioned, maybe 3 million USD per Bitcoin, then all of a sudden they're looking like the smartest guys in the room, and their investors are toasting them, with champagne. So it's a little bit of both. I'd say the balance skews more towards the short-term speculators are trying to buy the volatility and sell on the ups and buy the dips. But there are the longer-term guys that we're truly trying to cater to and focus to as well.
And now you're investing in Bitcoin. That's at least risky. Yes. How do you manage the risk? Which is a good strategy? Yes, for investing in Bitcoin. How do you get some earnings from this? What's the strategy?
Well, as I mentioned before, when we analyze risk, basically we are analyzing volatility, right? So it's very important, in my opinion, to learn what's been going on with the Bitcoin price over the last 3 years, because many people just learned about Bitcoin in 2013 or 2014, and they don't even know that in 2011 we had a 21x spike that then collapsed 2 weeks later at $2, 2x. And there's something interesting when you analyze long-term Bitcoin price, is how with every adoption phase and when the price keeps going up, then volatility, which is still very high, and I would say the most important concern of every single investor, volatility is coming down. So the first spike was 31x, the second one with the Cyprus crisis was 10x. The latest one in late 2013 was 8x. And I think it makes sense, right? Every time the Bitcoin price is higher, then you need more and more millions of dollars to create such a spike. So we're not concerned about the volatility in the long term. We believe that, you know, once Amazon accepts Bitcoin, the first central bank starts putting some, you know, cryptocurrencies in their reserves, that's going to increase the price, and in the long term, the volatility is going to come down.
Yeah, if anyone has any ideas on how to predict the volatility and the risk strategy, please, we're all ears, because it's a very difficult thing to do. We are a wholly owned subsidiary of Digital Currency Group, Barry Silbert's investment arm. So we are fortunate enough to be able to be a portfolio company with 50 other Bitcoin-related exchanges and companies. So information sharing is very important to kind of see where pockets of innovation are happening around the world and where pockets of capital are flowing into the space. We can kind of get an idea on where we think the price is going to move or where it's going to go. We look at technical analysis quite often as well, which you know, is sort of a mixed bag in terms of its success. So it's difficult. As traders every day buying and selling Bitcoin, volatility, we like volatility, especially the volatility that we've seen later half of 2015, where the volatility spike always leads to sort of a new higher Bitcoin price. We even had a laBITconf spike over the last day. We're up 5% on the Bitcoin price since the conference started. So we keep an eye on all that. It's imperfect science, but we're always there to sort of trade around it when we think there are opportunities.
And you're only trading Bitcoins? How is divided your funds? What are you doing?
You mean other altcoins?
Other currencies, yes, altcoins, something like that?
Yeah, well, actually in our portfolio we have a diversified portfolio with other altcoins. In that case, you know, if Bitcoin is complex enough, then going into other altcoins, it's even more complex. It's not only a financial asset, but you also need to understand the logic behind every single protocol, and they all work differently. But having said that, we believe that despite the network effect that Bitcoin has and its potential, there are some interesting altcoins that, you know, from a technology perspective are pretty interesting. Some of them focus on specific niches, such as remittances, which you know, could take off anytime. We also invest part of our portfolio in some smart contract oriented altcoins. Of course, if you're aiming a long-term investment in Bitcoin, anything you do in altcoins has to be even longer. They're very illiquid, and the part of your portfolio they should allocate is extremely small, because, you know, they're much more volatile and much more insecure in terms of a 51% attack and so on. But there's some very, very interesting altcoins. We'll hear about Dash today. We really like Dash from a technical standpoint. So we tend to invest and to support those other technologies where we deeply believe in the team, in the technology behind it, and the potential niche that they are targeting.
Mm-hmm. Genesis Global Trading and our affiliate company, Grayscale Investments, which manages the Bitcoin Investment Trust, they're the first publicly traded Bitcoin vehicle, the ticker as GBTC. We both have set ourselves up to trade any digital currency. Our infrastructure is in place. I'd say right now GBTC is solely Bitcoin focused, and we're 99.9% Bitcoin focused. We have done a couple of block trades for Litecoin, for example. But the infrastructure we've set up is to take advantage of any of these other digital currencies that do flourish. I mean, obviously, Bitcoin is the clear leader and that has a clear advantage over the others, but we're flexible and we're able to move wherever we're asked to sort of on our client's behalf.
Well, this would be a last question, yes, then we go to Q&A. How do you see Latin America? What do you think about investors in Latin America, or do you, for example, Preston, do you have funds from Latin American investors, and what are you doing in Latin America?
We do have a number of Latin American investors, a number of which are here, folks that have bought and sold. With Genesis, we work with a lot of the payment processors that are in Latin America as well. So I think what's happening here is very exciting. It's a little different type trade than it is in the United States, where it's sort of buy and hold and take this just hope the technology takes off and we all have an early retirement. Where here in Latin America, it's real, tangible, and there's many more use cases. Where in the United States, some financial services are more built out and more robust, and or there's not as much of a need for Bitcoin as it seems in some countries in Latin America, which gets us really excited about being down here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're pretty much focused on Latin America, and that's kind of our goal. We've seen, the revolution of the web, and the potential it had in the past, and I mean, most of it has been, I would say, taken advantage in the North, in Europe, in the US, and we believe there's a huge potential for traditional and Latin American early adopters, investors. So we're doing the legwork and spreading the word. We share the vision with some other Bitcoiners that, even despite that this technology has been developing in the US, the use cases are going to happen in Latin America. That's where the credit is required, where the authorities are more flexible. So we believe once we start seeing, hopefully next year in 2016, the real use cases of Bitcoin, it's going to be much more easier to spread the word and just regular investors to start seeing the potential of investing in this technology. But in my opinion, it's going to come first from seeing the real use cases and then deciding to invest in technology.
Tenemos tiempo para 3 preguntas.
Hi, the question is for both of you. I have 3 quick questions. The first one is, which is the minimum amount of Bitcoins you can trade? The second, are there any Bitcoin derivatives in the market? And if not, do you think we're going to see them in the near future? And the third one, when the big players come into Bitcoins and due to their scarcity, is there a risk that they monopolize the Bitcoin market?
I believe I missed the beginning part of your second question, but for trading with Genesis Global Trading, we are a registered broker-dealer in the United States, meaning we have pretty stringent AML and KYC procedures to keep our regulators happy. But those individuals and corporations that pass our background test, 25 Bitcoin is the minimum amount that we transact with. But that being said, you can use a service like Koibanx, for example, and buy $1 of Bitcoin. And the second question I missed part of, I don't know if you...
No, I didn't understand the second part.
There are a couple of marketplaces out there that are offering some sort of futures and such. There's one company that's getting really close in the United States to getting their blessing from the CFTC, the Commodity Future Trading Commission, which I think will open up the floodgates. That's what all our investors want, are the option to trade options, and I think we're getting closer. And then in terms of the big institutional players coming into the space, I sure hope so, hope that they do. I think the biggest issue for a firm to enter in the United States, at least, is certainly the banking relationships. We're fortunate that we have 5 or 6 banks that we use that are comfortable with our business model, but there aren't many banks that are comfortable with it. So say a Goldman Sachs or a Morgan Stanley wants to begin trading Bitcoin and opening up their banking services to Bitcoin companies, I think that the price will move materially upwards.
Hi, this is for Perston. Okay, so the initial buy-in is like 25 Bitcoins, which is what? That's about a $20,000. Do you offer margin at your exchange?
We do not. We have one of the main features in which our investors prefer using Genesis Global Trading is unlike an exchange, you don't send us dollars that we hold on to for you. If you were to clear our background test and become a trading partner and you said, I want to buy 25 Bitcoin, we would provide you a price. And if you accept it, then the trade is complete. It's done. Price will not move. We'll honor the price regardless of what the market does. And at that point, we would do what's known as post-trade settlement. You would send the dollars to us that are only specific for that particular transaction. We don't hold money or Bitcoin for clients at this point. So that also removes the ability for us to offer margin. But in a sense, there is a little bit of a margin loan given based on the fact that if you would do a trade with us, the price is locked in, and then you have a couple hours or whatever to get the wire to us, and then we like to settle our transactions on the same day.
Okay, and I think, just to understand, I think you answered the question with the last person. After you set up your account and everything, then you could trade as much or as little Bitcoins, and do you have to maintain a certain balance in the account?
Not at all, and that's another great feature that no one has accounts at Genesis Global Trading. You have ability to access our trade management software, which was built by TradeBlock. We were the first OTC group that they built specific technology for. So you'll receive a login to Genesis in which you'll be able to talk to myself on chat or the other traders on our desk and use what we call as an RFQ, request for quote, for a certain Bitcoin amount or a certain dollar amount to see where our pricing is. And then you can execute the trade right there and the trade's locked in. But to answer your question, no, we don't hold any assets on behalf of clients, so there's no minimum that you need to hold at Genesis. You can trade as much or as infrequently as you prefer.
A follow-on question for Perston on the settlement process. When you deal with institutions, do you have to deal with the custodial banks? I'm just a little fuzzy on coming from an equity side, used to DVP, RVP, how you actually settle these trades with the institution's custodian.
Great question. We do interact directly with the funds themselves, the traders at the funds. And at that point, they'll direct their bank, whether it be Citibank or JP Morgan, Bank of America, to send us a wire transfer for the total amount of the transaction. And then at that point, if they're buying Bitcoin, we send the Bitcoin directly to a wallet that they own, where we partner with both BitGo and Zappo. On our custodian side, we recommend both very highly. And the majority of our institutional trading partners use BitGo or Zappo, one of the two, to hold their Bitcoin directly. So there's very limited interaction with the custodian bank. It's more just sending or receiving wires on behalf of the institutional trading partners.
Thank you very much.